In the summertime,
10:29, a little bit of change on this Friday morning. It's the 12th day of July. We got Rachel Brown and Stacy Knox back in studio. How you doing? I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Rachel, coming up in just a couple of... Man, you are getting closer and closer to your presentation.
I am.
July the 23rd, How to Talk to Other Humans. It's part of the Surviving Summer series. This is really cool because... I think, social media may or may not have given us some maybe false sense of who we are and how we communicate sometimes.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, a lot of problems right now could just be solved with open communication and just the right way to communicate. What are your thoughts just right off the bat?
Well, I think communication is just hard in general for a lot of people. Not just adults, but I think little ones.
Yeah.
Feeling understood, being understood. So I think a lot of our problems can be solved by just knowing how to communicate, having those basic skills.
Absolutely. And now take me through your day-to-day at OSF St. Anthony's.
Yeah, so I'm pretty new.
Oh, are you? How new? How new?
I started in May, so like around the end of May, I think. Yeah, so pretty new.
So before we go any further, just take me through your experience the last 2 months at OSF. What's it been like?
Oh, it's been lovely.
Has it?
Lovely. I was working remote for 2.5 years, so being in person has been a game changer.
I could only imagine, and you being able to communicate more effectively.
Yes, communication. But it's been so lovely. Everybody is welcoming and kind, and all of the coworkers, staff, Stacy, have been just so warm, and it makes me really happy to be there.
So if you could, I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but the Surviving Summer series, if you know a little bit of background, could you fill our audience in on what this kind of details?
Yeah, so really my audience is going to be parents or caregivers, so people who, have kids or are looking after kids. And so really I'm talking to them about tips and tricks on how to communicate effectively, give the kids what they are needing in those moments to really just help them out, kind of like emotion coaching. In a way.
Yeah. And now take me through how the communication can really put a strain on a family's dynamic.
Yeah. So, when there is like a lack of communication, or if a child is just not being understood, it can cause a lot of things. Behavioral issues, outbursts, frustration with the parents, where the parents aren't able to communicate effectively. So instead of responding, they're reacting.
100%.
Yeah.
And now in your day-to-day, whenever you're working with your clients over at OSF, take me through just some of the conversations. And, whenever you're working with a patient, is there sometimes a communication barrier just in, kind of how they interact in their maybe their sessions with you?
Oh, definitely.
Is there? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm fascinated about this because it seems like, those first couple of times meeting with maybe a newer patient, there's kind of, the first day of school mentality. But really take me through the growth that someone can experience once, the kind of the barriers start to break down, the communication's more open and more free-flowing. Take me through the growth there.
Yeah. So I think building rapport is super important to me personally as a therapist. And so I really find that to be kind of like the key of therapy in general. Because when somebody starts to feel comfortable with you, they're able to, again, take down those walls, and then we can really start to cover a lot of ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now, if you could, preview some of the ground that you're going to be covering on the 23rd, correct?
Yes.
I was getting nervous. That date just rolled by my screen, and I was like, uh-oh, time to guess.
It's coming up. So, yeah. So really, I'm going to provide a lot of just education to parents and caregivers about really what's going on in the teenage brain or just the brain in general with development. I'm going to be going through some statistics that might cause people to be a little upset, but I think being truthful and honest is a helpful approach. And then we'll talk about like tips and tricks for communicating. So listening,
Wait, hold on here. Let me talk to Stacy real quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, listening is a big one. That's probably the big thing that we're going to be talking about.
Let me ask you this, and I've always kind of wondered this because, whenever I was in school, and I was in middle school and even, somewhat of elementary school, but more in middle school, the big conversation came to, kids weren't listening because maybe the head was down and they couldn't make that solid eye contact, and there was almost like a disconnect or a barrier to why they couldn't do that. And some of it was maybe a little bit of an ADD or an ADHD or some type of other issue. Do you see that as something that is of some prevalence, where maybe there is an underlying condition that could affect those communication barriers?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. ADD, ADHD, anxiety.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Big time?
Oh yeah.
I like it. Rachel, good answer. That's very fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So how important is it for us to kind of reevaluate just how we're feeling internally and what we're kind of going through when it comes to maybe how we're communicating with the public, the private, or family?
Yeah. So how we are feeling can really impact our ability to communicate with others. So that's why, in this segment, I'm going to be providing information on mindful parenting. So checking in with yourself. Say your child or the person you're looking after is really starting to make you upset.
Yeah.
So it's time to look at yourself, check in, maybe take a time out, step away, take some deep breaths so that you can come back and communicate effectively and give that child what they're needing.
That's really, really fascinating. Do you have a moment to stick around? We've already been talking for 10 minutes. I got to pay a quick bill here. 10:35, a little bit of change. Hey, while I have you, Alton Little Theater is starting their 91st season of being a staple right here in the Riverbend region. They're the oldest, most continuous in the state. Wild. And they're one of the most oldest continuous in the country. They're starting off with Oliver, a really fun one. They have a bunch of cast, a bunch of crew, and Kevin Frakes has made this set at Alton Little Theater's smaller stage look just like the movie. It's really cool. They just came off their 90th season. It ended with Singing in the Rain, but the 91st has Oliver, Rocky Horror Picture Show. You got to be kind of careful about that word. And Making God Laugh, Women of a Certain Age, A Christmas Carol, so much more. Season tickets for $85. You know what $85 gets you in St. Louis? A parking spot. And you can watch the best entertainers in the region. You can get your tickets now, altonlittletheater.org, altonlittletheater.org, or call the box office 618-462-3205.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible, covering auto, home, business, and life insurance. Our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
Not sure if you've noticed, but those advertised prices from the other dealers are just a bunch of blah, blah, blah. At Roberts Motors, the advertised price is the price you pay. And that, my friend, is great news for you. Don't fall for their so-called incentives that will leave you banging your head against the wall. Go with Roberts Motors. Prices you can trust and people you will like. That's the Roberts Motors way. And trust me, it's the way to go.
Has free checking become a thing of the past? Not if Liberty has anything to say about it. With 3 free personal checking options and even a free business checking account, Free is alive and well at Liberty Bank, the local bank that gives you free checking choices and more cashing in your pocket. Bank locally, bank Liberty. For more information, visit www.bankliberty.com.
RiverBender Radio has built 3 great new stations just for you in the Riverbend. The Eagle, the Riverbend's classic rock station. The Bridge, hit music for the Riverbend. And The River, today's country, and all your favorites. Check them out today at RiverBender.com.
Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
I still have some love to give. Won't you show me that you really
Blast from the past, really, you know. Yeah, Jeff Lynne, you know, George Harrison and Tom Petty, but they were bored one weekend and recorded an album. You know? Well, you know, we were talking during the break, and a really important conversation came up, I think, and this is one that I remember very, very well, and especially with the sister in the house with Mom and her, I remember that all too well, too, and it comes a point in life, you know, when, you know, I turned 12 years old, and all of a sudden, you know, almost like the bright light came on, and I was open to the world, and you know, now even earlier with social media and influencers and X, Y, and Z, when we start to develop, how important is it for parents to kind of understand that development process? Because, you know, obviously we all know how was school today? Well, why are you asking? You know, you know, how does that really come into play in that parent-child dynamic?
Sure. Well, children really no longer see their parents as that big source of, I'm going to talk to you about everything.
Yeah.
You know, it changes. They go from their parents to their peers. They don't want to share everything with their parents. Not because they dislike their parents, but it's just because it's not that person that they want to go to anymore. So really, parents being mindful of the kinds of questions that they're asking. You know, don't try to investigate what's going on with your kid, even though it might be hard and you want to know what's going on. But those are kind of questions that I'm going to be talking about in this series of how can we navigate this so you are informed?
Let me go a step further here, because now I'm kind of interested. So obviously when the child starts to get a little tensed up and closing that door, some anxiety comes over the parent. And we were talking about how anxiety could kind of affect that communication barrier. Does that almost become like a revolving door of bad communication when something like that could come into play?
Definitely.
What's your advice to parents that are facing that anxiety? Because it's kind of like handing the car keys off for the first time. There's that hesitation. I mean, your child's growing up. What's your advice to them?
Yeah. Patience.
It's a virtue.
You know, a lot of patience, and even, you know, reflecting back to the child about it, saying, I'm having a lot of anxiety because we're not as close as we used to be. And I miss you, you know, even saying those kinds of things, because then that's going to be something more, you know, likely reach the child rather than saying, well, you don't talk to me anymore.
You're right. You're 100% right. So, you know, whenever we're talking about, you know, just communicating, you know, building trust is a big part of communicating, because you got to trust the person you're talking to, not to air your dirty laundry out in the first pew of church, you know. And how important is that building trust up when it comes to open communication?
Oh, I mean, it's a building block.
Is it truly a building block?
Oh, absolutely. Because, you know, children want to feel that they are trusted. So giving them certain tasks so that they feel that you trust them. You know, assigning them to certain chores that maybe they want to do. Or, hey, can I back the car out of the garage for you? Or, hey, can I wash the car for you? Giving them those kinds of tasks so that they start to feel that you trust them.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, another point of that, too, is we were kind of talking about this validation aspect. And, you know, it's kind of obvious, but you don't really think about it in the day-to-day of life of, you know, kind of just saying, hey, kudos to you. You know, great job on that. I'm glad that you're doing this. I'm glad we're talking. What's validation in communication look like?
Yeah. So validation can be tough. Especially when a child is coming to you about something difficult and maybe you're kind of scared to hear about what they're going to say.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I'll get people who will just say, well, I'm sorry you're going through that. And then the child feels very disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, so validation can look like, it seems like what you're going through is causing a lot of difficulties. Tell me more. And that can really make the child feel heard, feel seen, and that can just open up a lot of other doors for communication.
And, as we're wrapping things up here and we've been talking about your upcoming presentation, a part of, by the way, I just want to say Surviving Summer 4 1-hour weekly sessions, if I can speak, I do get paid to do this job, on consecutive Wednesdays from 3 to 4 p.m. It's led by mission partners at OSF, encompassing multiple departments of OSF St. Anthony's. And now yours is going to be coming up on July 20. I knew I got it wrong. July 24th. Oh, man.
I was thinking it.
But you know what? I felt really good when you said I got it right. So that's all that matters, truly. July 24th from 3 to 4 p.m. One last time, give us an elevator pitch if you could. What are you going to be talking about, and how can people reach out and be a part of this?
Yes, so I am going to be talking about tips and tricks on how to communicate with the little ones, teens, tweens. So we're going to be going over certain topics that are going to be really important for communication, not only to make them feel better, but to make the parent and caregiver feel better too.
Really cool.
Yes.
And how can people register?
So they can call the main number at 618-474-6240, and we can get them set up for that individual session or the remaining series of sessions.
Really cool. That number again, folks, 618-474-6240. Sign up, be a part of this very informative opportunity by OSF, and thank you guys for putting it on.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick break. Our daily show on this Friday morning rolls right around the corner with Loretta Graham right after this on RiverBender.com, Roku TV.